Hey guys, it's Maymay, and today we're going to make a burlap wreath. Now, you know how expensive those can be, right? Because if you've been to the stores, I'm sure you've noticed that burlap is expensive and everything about it is expensive right now. So I tried something different to save us some money. So what you'll need to create this project: one large sprig of foliage of your choice. I chose this winter wonderland kind of look for mine because it's going to go with burlap. You'll need about 1.5 yards of your favorite ribbon. This one is wire edged. It is about 3 inches wide and it is from Hobby Lobby. You'll need one of these work wreaths. This is literally called a work wreath from Hobby Lobby. It's the kind of wreath that has these little pieces that twist on the end. The one I'm using today is a 16-inch work wreath. So you'll need one of these, and you'll need 1 1/3 yard of burlap. And this burlap I bought at Hobby Lobby and it was $3.99 a yard. I went ahead and bought 3 yards because I want to have it for the whole year, but that's what you'll need. 1 1/3 will do this entire wreath. You're going to need scissors that can cut wire. You're going to need wire for your bow. You'll need hot glue. I'm using these big pieces because I like to use a lot. Your hot glue gun and a large work surface, and that's it. Okay, so how to cut your burlap. You'll take your yard of burlap and open it all the way out. Now the cool thing is, because this came on a bolt, you will have lines already built in for you in about thirds. So what you'll do is you'll fold one side over to meet one fold, just like so, then fold the other over to meet just like so. So simple, right? No, so simple is what I call it. Then you'll just take your scissors and run it up one of the folds all the way to the end, and you're just cutting open the fold is what you're doing. Then you're going to do that on the other side as well. So this will give you 12-inch wide strips approximately. It's not going to be exact if you do it this way. You can measure and get 12-inch wide strips. That'll be great, but I just did it kind of like that. So there's how you get your burlap ribbon. Now the next thing you'll need is one of these, they call them a work wreath. They're called a work wreath because they have these little pieces that help you to work your burlap or your geomesh around. This is a 16-inch work wreath. And I got it from Hobby Lobby, and it was 50% off of $6.99. So I got it pretty cheap. And now, using my burlap that we created in strips, because I just don't want to pay that much for it, right? Here's what we're going to do. First things first, open up your work wreath pieces. This one's really cool because it has the kind that look like a Christmas tree. So it'll kind of blend in. And with this burlap, I'm trying to make it look kind of rugged anyway. So I don't even mind if this shows, to be honest. I think it'll be, you know, as long as I can make it pretty. And I'm only going to open the outside first, because I'm going to work on the outside before the inside. I'm going to move this where you can see it. I'm going to start right here with this first piece. Using one end of the burlap strip that we created when we cut our yard up, we're going to place that here. And all you're going to do is tightly twist your work wreath down, okay? That's all you got to do to get started. Then we're just going to turn till the next one is facing us. We're going to take that burlap, gather it again, push it down, making sure that our loop comes forward, and do the same thing. If you saw my geomesh wreath tutorial, this is very much like that. But this time, I'm actually going to have a center to this one. That one I did really big and didn't have a centerpiece. So I'm going to turn it again till this one's facing me. Gather it. Push that forward. Twist it around. Don't worry too much about these pieces right now because we'll cover those up later. So you continue doing that. Now as you can see here, I'm at the end of my first strip of burlap. What I'm going to do is take my second strip of burlap and go ahead and connect it to that one and gather them at the same time and put them in. I just did not want to spend the money on those spools of burlap. It was just too expensive for me. Now I've made it around to the last one, and I'm going to have just enough with this to put it there. Now what I'm going to do, because I'm going to have a bow in this area, I'm going to start my next piece at the same area so I can end where the bow will hide all of that. Now again, I'm not too worried about all of this right yet. We can do the fluffing in a little bit, okay? So now let's start the center, and let's start opening all of these up. This one just broke off. This is important to show you because this could happen to you. This broke off in my hand when I went to open it. Don't panic. Just take it, wrap it around. It's wire, so just wrap it around and it'll stay in place for you. So it's not that big of a deal. You just need it to hold the burlap on. And remember, I wanted to start it in this area where I ended before, and I'm just going to gather it together. I'm going to place it in the first one and twist. And this time I'm going to tuck those under because I don't really want them sticking out everywhere. So now I have that there, and I'm going to spin it. I'm going to gather, pinch, and then tuck this under. And again, you don't have to do this part now. I just kind of like to fluff to see where I'm at. Turn it. Now again, I have a loose piece. This wreath is going to take 4 pieces. I'm going to put it with this one like I did before and place it in. And twist. And I really like these loose, rugged edges. I really want that to show. It shows off the burlap. Now I want to talk you through this last piece. This is my end piece. That is where I've ended up. And if you remember, I started right here. I'm going to go ahead and untwist this one where I started from. And I'm going to add this into there. And I'm really not worried about tidiness at this point, because with burlap, it's like that great jacket that hides all those multitudes of sins, so does burlap. I love that about it. Now I'm gonna make that loop a little bit smaller there because that one got a little bit fat. And the way you do it is just pull your burlap through. And so see, I really love that piece showing. I'm okay with that. So now your burlap is all the way around your wreath. And here's what you want to do. I have some really full loops here and some less full loops here. I want to adjust those to make a match. So again, I'm going to come to where that ends, and I'm going to pull it through so that it doesn't look quite as fluffy, so that they kind of all match up. So now our burlap wreath is all wrapped up. This is actually the end where we began. So it's the beginning or the end. And these 2 pieces are about the same length. And that's pretty cool. I'm going to push them back to the side like this. And that way, when I put my bow in this area, that'll kind of look like a bow behind it as well. I think that turned out really cute. That's a happy accident. Okay, now let's talk bows. This is some ribbon I did purchase at Hobby Lobby. It was $7.99 for 15 feet. I bought a couple of rolls of it, and I got it for 40% off, I think. You know, they put everything on good sale right now. So I'm not going to do a very big loopy bow for this wreath. I feel like this wreath is a little bit, not industrial, but a little potato sack, a little vintage. So I want to make this bow a little more vintage. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with one tail facing me, and then I'm going to create a loop. Now here's the trick. If you make your loop straight, your tail will stick out straight. You want to twist this a tiny bit so that your tail comes toward you at an angle, and now this has a twist to it as well. Now you'll just bring this across, and as you notice, I have a single-sided ribbon. If I just do this, now my bows don't match. Notice? So what you want to do is you want to take this piece and turn it so that this tail, and you may have to move your ribbon across, that's fine, so that this tail comes under at that same angle. So basically, this is what you have, and you've twisted them just a little bit. Now, when you do this, all you'll do is pleat the center, and I'm going to cut this away. So once you have your ribbon, and at this point, if you want to go ahead, this one's folded a little bit. If you want to go ahead and kind of center it up, you just do that by adjusting your loops just slightly. Okay, now you just want to pleat in the middle. To me, this is what's important. If you just squeeze this together, you will get a bow and it'll be fine. But if you pleat it, I think you get a better look. So here's what you'll do. Putting your thumbs together in the middle, and then your fingers on the back side like this. Push forward with these fingers and push down with your thumbs to create that first pleat. I'm going to show you that again. You're going to push forward with these fingers, push down and in, and there's your first pleat. It's really just a fold. Okay? Now, with your fingers where they were, holding that in place, on this hand you want to bring it forward so that now you're holding it like this. And then you're going to fold it backwards. This is what makes your pleats. Okay? And then if you have any left, fold it again. So there's my pleats on that side. Basically, you're accordion folding this ribbon onto itself. And to me, it makes a huge difference for your bow center. You just accordion fold it. Now you're going to need some wire. Now the wire I've chosen is a 18 gauge silver wire on a spool like this. The only reason I've chosen this one is because I can't find my floral wire. Isn't that common? If I had my floral wire, I would just use that, but this one will work just fine. And so I'm going to place this on the center, wrap it around, and then twist in the back, nice and tight. This is the other good thing about doing those pleats. You get a good shape, so it's easier for you to wrap that around. And now look at this cute vintage burlappy bow. Now it may be too big for you. I kind of like it big and floppy. I think if I'm going for vintage, I want big and floppy. So there's our bow. I'm gonna bring our wreath back. Now remember how I told you where these two pieces came together and they kind of flapped over? I'm gonna push those out of the way like this because I think that's really cute, how that makes like almost bow ears. Then I'm gonna take the bow I just created and push it into the center like this. I'm gonna take the wire and wrap it around my work wreath and twist. And that's what's gonna hold that in place. You may need to snip some of that off in a little bit, but for now we're good. So now I have the beginnings of my burlap wreath. Very simple. And listen, you're looking for rugged, you're looking for, you know, homey and, you know, fluffy. So at first it may not look like you think. You may think to yourself, this doesn't look good, but just give yourself a minute to do some of the work on it and you'll see how pretty you can make it. Now go ahead and start playing with your burlap. Maybe you don't like that piece poking up, tuck it down. Maybe you want this piece down. Maybe you want this tucked down. Whatever you want to do, this is the time to start playing with your burlap. And then let's talk about foliage. Now I purchased this spray at Hobby Lobby for it was $12.99 and 50% off. And here's what I suggest. Take the price tag off first because there's nothing worse than getting your wreath done and seeing the tag in it. Now, what I do is I take these sprays, I take one piece at a time and I wiggle it back and forth. It does not take long for that to break that wire inside. That wire is broken now. And then it'll come off. Now if you want to, you can also take a pair of work scissors like these, put it in the bottom and cut it, and that's fine too. That tends to hurt my hand a little bit. So do it either way you like, and take every sprig off. Now I have a pile of working wreath pieces. The other thing I like to do, notice how whenever you buy these on these sprigs, you'll have like a set of leaves at the bottom, at the middle, and at the end. That's because if you're going to use it in a floral arrangement, you're going to want those all the way down. What I do is I push these forward, and I'm basically making myself a pick for my wreath. So you just want to bring these forward, and now I have this piece that I've created like so. I'm going to come to the bottom and snip this off. This is much easier to snip at this point because it is a thinner wire. So I've made a pick for my wreath. So do that with all the pieces you just cut away. Even these pieces, you'll slide the leaves up to the, now I will tell you this, don't get overzealous and slide all the way up and think that's gonna work, because these will come off. So just slide each set of leaves up till it reaches the one above. Now you can buy these picks if you like to. I like to save money, and I feel like, and I'll show you how many picks I'll get out of this one piece in just a second. Okay, so I finished the picks, or I finished creating those picks, and what I did was I was able to get 14 picks out of that one spray of flowers. Now what's important about that? Typically when you're looking at Hobby Lobby or at Michael's, these are typically 99 cents at the cheapest. And they're not usually this big if they're 99 cents. You can see how big this one is compared to my hand. So one sprig of flowers, just like this, got me 14 picks. Probably way more than I'm gonna need for this wreath, but if I want them, I've got them. And I paid 50% off, so it was $7 for 14. So basically I paid 50 cents a piece for these. So when I tell you how much this wreath costs us at the end, you're gonna be really happy, because these bad boys can get expensive. All right, so now I'm gonna reset a little bit, and we're gonna start putting these on the wreath. Now, as you can see, I have the wreath laying here so you can see the bottom part where the bow is. Maybe a little bit difficult to see the very center of it, but I think you get the idea. If I lift it up a little bit, you can see that. Now, it looks like I've left a really big gap there, and I have, because I'm gonna use this section to decorate with some of the picks I created. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So I've taken 3 of the picks, and what I suggest is you just kind of do a little mock layout. I'm gonna put one here so that it leans forward, maybe one down facing toward the bottom. And then I have this one that has this beautiful pine cone and some of the ivy, or the evergreen in it, and we'll put that in the middle. And look how pretty that's gonna set that off with our big floppy bow. So I'm gonna start there. And then what I suggest is you work your way around deciding where you wanna add more. And I really wanna add more everywhere one of our green pieces are. This really helps you. If you have a green sprig and it's showing, if you'll add this, it hides it instantly. And all you'll do is just glue that in place all the way around where you see those green pieces. I love this one. It has a lot of pine cones, so I'll be sure to put that one in that area because it's at the very top. And this one just has some berries on it. And that one has some ivy that'll stick out. Now once you have all this glued down and you're able to look at it, you can decide if you want to add anything else. I'm going to go ahead and glue all these into place and let you see what that looks like. When you're making a wreath like this, glue is your friend. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but if you go to like the floral shops, you may see that they have a, what used to be a skillet, like a frying skillet. They have that, and they put their glue in there, and then they dip their pieces into that before they put them on. So glue is definitely your friend in this instance. You're gonna use a lot of glue. So wad that pick up with the glue and let it do the work. Now I actually ended up with some of the picks left that we created. So I'm gonna take them and I'm just gonna really fill up this center portion here. I just think that'd be really pretty with that bow. Another little trick I want to show you is you can take these off, these sets of leaves, then you can just gather the leaves in your hand, use this point that you've created to put glue, and then you can fill in places with those. Let me do that real quick. So you just move this aside and stick this in and let the glue grab, and now I have more leaves in this area. Very simple. Don't waste any of those leaves, use them. Now the last thing I want to do is I had some of these little pine cones that I cut away also, and I want to use those, but I think I'm going to actually remove them from the leaf, cut the stem away, and put them right where I want them so I have little pine cones. Now one thing you'll want to do if you're working on a dark surface like I am is periodically, once the glue has dried, pick it up and look at it and see where you have any holes. When I picked this up, I noticed that I had a pretty good hole here. So I'm just going to stretch my burlap out a little bit, change the direction of it to fill that in. Don't be afraid to move it around. I think sometimes we think it's supposed to fall just like it is, but you really can just adjust whatever you need to adjust. You can even adjust it once you have it hanging in place. And there you go, guys. That's how you make a burlap wreath on the cheap. They are so expensive, and a lot of people have asked me, how can you make them and resell them? This would be the only way I know how to do that to make it cheap enough, because they are so expensive when you buy the product. But using the yard of the burlap and using it on the bolt instead of on the spool, I think is cheaper, and buying everything 50% off. I'll show you pictures of this at the end of the video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you were able to follow along. I worry sometimes that maybe I'm too quick, but I try to do it really slow. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and I will catch you guys next time. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.